Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I am trying something new. I've been thinking about getting a new camera. It wouldn't be anytime soon. I have to save up for it. But now I'm thinking maybe just a new lens so I can fit you guys on the bench, say hello, and let you know what we're going to be getting up to today. As you can tell by the title, we're making cabbage rolls, but I'm doing it with a twist. I'm not going to be rolling the cabbage rolls. I'm just gonna make a cabbage roll casserole, I suppose, in a way. So yeah, it'll be nice to show more of myself while I'm prepping vegetables or whatever that may be. So don't know, I'm trying to work it out, so bear with me for the next few videos until hopefully it won't take me any longer than that until I get that figured out. But what I'm doing now, I'm just taking out the core of this cabbage. I've just sliced it in half. I got water in a pot on a boil, well, coming up to temperature to boil. And I got 1.5 kilos of minced beef in a frying pan already. That's just at a medium heat. And that's going to be starting off to cooking our filling. So I'm just going to be slicing this cabbage in strips, finger thick strips. It's not super fine or anything. So with this cabbage roll, we're going to be making enough for dinner for tonight, plus some to go into the freezer. And as well as the cabbage rolls, I do have some random odd chores in the kitchen that I would like to get done today. So we'll probably go through that together too. The thick bits of the core I'm just going to chuck into the compost bowl, which is overfilling. So we got 1.5 kilos of minced meat. This is minced meat from Costco that we brought together and froze in 500 gram packaging. Because I flatten them out when I freeze it, a kilo did not look like much. So, but now it's all in the pan. I think a kilo would have been plenty. But that's fine. This is what we got to work with. So I'm just going to be seasoning it with about a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of black pepper. We'll do about a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of paprika, a tablespoon of dried basil, and just a pinch of cayenne chili powder or any kind of chili powder that you like. Add more if you want it spicy. I just like the flavour from it, so I'm just adding in a little pinch. We just want to mix this ever so often and just kind of mush it down just so it's not big chunks of meat. And we just want to get this all nice and cooked before we go in to add in like the little sauce or the juices that it's going to have with it. Actually, one thing we can add in now while the meat is cooking is some onions. So here are my frozen onions, just your normal brown onions. I'm just going to add enough onions roughly for one full medium-sized onion. But with my onions, if you didn't watch the video where we diced and froze these up together, this is like game changer. I don't think I'm ever going to go back to your regular fresh onions. Obviously for fresh eating, if I wanted it in a salad or something, I use fresh. But I think for cooking, when I run out of onions, which I got a whole nother bag in the freezer, I think I'm just going to just do the same thing. Just have one day on a shopping day when I buy the onions, just chop it all up at once. And then I just don't have to chop up onions while I'm using it for cooking. It is just great. It's such a game changer. So over in the pot here, we've got some boiling water. I'm just going to add in some salt. And with this water, all we want to do is blanch this cabbage for about a minute or so. So I was just going to tip it all in, but I'll just go in, you know what, we'll just tip it all in. Ooh. Yeah, that's fine. So it does look like a lot of cabbage. It is a whole, I would say like a small to medium sized cabbage. We'll just get that down. And once I got this all submerged, I'm going to put a timer on for 1 minute, and then that's all this cabbage needs. So yeah, so for this specific recipe, I feel like one, it'll be beneficial just to make the cabbage nicer because it is going to be frozen. I'm not going to be baking these before I freeze them. And two, when they do come out of the freezer, they get defrosted and in the oven. Our filling is already all cooked, so it just needs to be kind of warmed through. And our cabbage will be not partly cooked, but because it has been blanched, it's obviously softer and a little bit more cooked than if it was completely raw. And that's our timer. So all I'm doing here now is just running some cold water from our tap just to cool down the spinach. If I had ice cubes, I used and refilled the ice cube trays like half an hour ago. I would just put this in a bowl and have some icy cold water. I suppose I could still put it in the bowl of cold water. But you just want to cool down the cabbage just to stop that cooking process. Alright, so there is a little bit of moisture in this pan, some grease. If you want to drain it, you definitely can. I'm not going to worry about draining it because compared to how much meat is in here compared to the moisture, it's not that much. Plus, a lot of this moisture as well came from the onions. So yeah, I'm personally not going to drain it. If it was any more than this, I definitely would drain some of it, but I'm going to just leave it how it is. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of butter. And that's just going to help give it some nice richness to the mixture, as well as some Worcestershire sauce, however you want to pronounce that. I only got this much left. I'm going to use all of it. I would have preferred double this amount. I would say it's probably about 3 tablespoons I got left. So yeah, I would have used about 5 to 6, I feel like. But that's alright. We'll just use the rest of this. And I also want to mention too, you don't have to do beef if you don't want to. This will be really good with chicken mince, or I know popular is half beef, half pork, I believe, or half beef, half lamb. Any kind of meat really, we'll just go with it. So yeah, I'm just mixing in that butter and that Worcestershire sauce. Also to this, I'm going to be adding in a very heaped teaspoon of beef stock powder. I'm not going to actually make the stock because there's already enough liquid in here, I feel like. If there wasn't enough liquid, I would just add a splash of water because we don't want this swimming in sauce, but we do want this to be kind of coated. So we will add some flour in a little bit, but I just feel like this is enough liquid. And when we add the flour, it will be easier to see the consistency, and I'll definitely show you guys a close-up of that. And again, if we were using chicken mince or pork mince, I would add chicken stock or vegetable stock instead. So I'm now going to add a tablespoon of plain flour, and this is just going to help thicken up the mixture that we have made. Alright, so I've just taken it off of the heat now. I'm just going to, well, I've been letting it cool for just a minute, and I want to taste it for seasoning. If the seasoning's perfect, then we're done. We'll just wait till it's cool and then we'll assemble it all. But if it's not perfect, then we can just adjust. So as you can see, it's very hot and steamy. It smells really good. And good to remember, that's good. It'll be with cabbage, tomato puree, or passata, and cheese on top too. Alright, so another thing I do want to get done today is finish processing these green beans that I started yesterday. So I do have a whole video about processing green beans. Also kind of similar on what I was touching on just before about the cabbage, on freezing the green beans. Blanching the green beans before freezing. So these I brought from the supermarket. I had plans to do fresh eating with them, but I just didn't end up using them. So instead of letting them go to waste, I processed them, blanched them for 2 minutes, had them singly like you saw on this tray, and now we're just chucking it in here, and now we got it's just now gone into the freezer instead of having it fresh in the fridge, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. So I did look up exactly why you need to process or blanch vegetables like cabbage and green beans before we have them in the freezer, and it's something to do with the enzymes. I don't exactly know what an enzyme is. I only just quickly had a look online, but I was pretty much on the right track. It not only does it affect the nutrition value with the freezing process of completely raw to frozen, it also affects the taste and the texture and the color, which that I didn't remember, but So there we go, blanch your veggies. Some veggies like onions, I didn't blanch those, they don't need to be blanched. They taste perfectly fine, like I said. Cooking, obviously defrosting it and eating them raw in a salad is no go because they do get a little mushy from being frozen. But things like green beans, you cook them anyhow, and then it also saves you because you don't have to cook them as long, because I suppose they're already a little bit cooked by blanching them for a couple of minutes and it being frozen. But anyhow, so now we've got some green beans on hand in the freezer, which will last a lot longer than what they would have in the fridge if I did get to them in time. So that's great. That's one thing I want to do. The next thing I want to do is reclaim this corner of my bench. So this is just like a garbage bag, compost which has to be chucked out, the dehydrator which is filled of rosemary, which I'm in the process of processing it. I just got to get that finished so that can go away. Tidy up this stack of containers. Yeah. So I think now, while I am waiting for the cabbage roll mixture and stuff to cool a little bit before we can actually assemble it, we'll tackle this corner. Alright, so now what this section has is a couple of chopping boards, my paper towel, and my rosemary project. So obviously the rosemary project's not going to stay in this section for hopefully much longer. Hopefully tonight I'll get to it. I was hoping to do it now, but the cabbage rolls is ready to go on with the next step and get them done. So I'll probably just, I don't know, do the rosemary project later tonight. But as a whole, oh, and I gotta find that somewhere. That was just some paper towel and cloth I was just using because I just deep cleaned like the whole area and the tiles and stuff. But as a whole, that looks so much better. And my bin's still there. I'm still using that. But yeah, as a whole, it just looks so much more open and just so much more better. Alright, so this is pretty much how we're going to be assembling. I got this glass Pyrex dish that we're going to be using. Nick and I will just share this for dinner tonight. Plus I got 4 more here, so I'm going to start with 4. I do have a couple more trays off to the side if I feel like we have enough for a bit more. But I'm just going to be starting off with just putting a bit of sauce at the bottom. You just want a thin layer at the bottom of the dish. I'm just kind of rotating just so then the bottom of the dish is covered by this thin layer of sauce. And traditionally a cabbage roll is you grab your cabbage and you roll your filling with, but instead we are just going to be roughly just laying this cabbage down on the bottom, and then we're going to put the filling and then a bit more cabbage on top. So you still got, the meat is encased, I suppose, with cabbage. It's just more as a layer, not so much as an actual roll. Well, definitely not as an actual roll, but it's still going to be on the top and bottom of the meat. Alright, so now that our spinach is down, I'm just going to be taking probably just a spoonful of meat and spread that across. So I'm just going to come back and fill up some more of the meat so we get just a thin layer of meat and try and cover the whole surface is the plan. Alright, now and back with some more cabbage on top. And then on top we just want a little bit more sauce. This one will be kind of harder to spread though, but that's fine. And on the one that we're baking tonight for dinner, I'm going to sprinkle on some shredded mozzarella cheese. Any kind of cheese really will do, it's just this is what we have. These ones I will freeze the cheese on top of this. I've done it before, it works perfectly fine, except I don't have enough. I only got enough for tonight's dish. So what I'll do is I'll make a note on top of the lids when I do with these lids. So when I do write on them, I'll write cabbage roll, today's date, and I'll just make a note saying it needs cheese added before baking. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to cover it with some foil and just let it sit there because we're going to cook it probably in about an hour, so it'll be fine. You can see all the different colours and the layers in there. I'm so excited for this. So yeah, we're going to cover this with foil. When it is cooked, I'll show you guys what it ends up looking like. I think I got enough sauce to make 1 or 2 more. I got enough cabbage, got enough meat yeah, I'm going to get 2 more frozen meals done. Alright, so I got 6 meals made up. I got tea for tonight. So 8 meals in total. I got a little bit of meat left, a little bit of cabbage left. I'll probably just snack on that. Now with the lids, I'm just going to label them. So just like that, I'll label what it is, the date, what we got to do, which is just adding cheese. I essentially bake everything at either 180 or 200 degrees Celsius, so I don't need to write that all the time. I'm pretty rememberable with my freezer meals. I generally do have all my freezer meals pretty much cooked. If it was say like a pasta bake or something, I don't like it as a full meal. I'll just cook the sauce. Or same with the curries, like we recently done the curries together. I'll just do the sauce and then I'll cook the rice or the cauliflower separately on the day. At least it's not cooking a full meal. But these can just go straight in the oven and then they're completely done. Alright, so I was in the oven for maybe about half an hour. I didn't actually exactly check the time. I just chucked it in, remembered about it, went to go check, and it was all ready. So it was nice and bubbly. The cheese was all nice and melted. It could have gone a little bit longer to get more golden brown, but it was fine. I'm hungry, so I pulled it out. And this is what my bowl looks like. It honestly kind of smells like pizza, and I'm not even mad about it. Like, cabbage that smells like pizza? Yes, please. So it's a lot more juicier as well. But I want a bite of everything. So we got, alright, so I want a bite of everything. So we got some cheese in there, the meat, sauce, and the cabbage. So yeah, it is really hot, but it smells so good. When it's close to my nose, it smells more like cabbage, but from the actual dish and just serving it, it just smells like pizza. That is good. I think maybe I should have shredded the cabbage more fine. I was going to, but I would have thought it mattered. I just think personally the texture more finer I would have liked better, but it's no big deal. The flavour though is really good. So that's pretty much all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe down below so you don't miss out on my future videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.